Hi guys, welcome to another Divi themed video. This is Jamie from System 22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Well, in yesterday's video we showed you how to do this simple text over image hover effect. Really easy to do, really eye-catching thing. In this video today we're going to show you something similar with a scroll effect. I roll down the page. We've got two little modules coming in there. We've got an image on the left and a little blurb module on the right. Watch what happens when I scroll down the screen. They're going to flip. We've got the image on the right now and a blurb module on the left, and they'll stay there till we get out the screen. And of course, they'll do the opposite on the way back down. That's a really eye-catching feature to have on your site also. And of course, this will work just as well on tablet and mobile. I'm using Google Chrome here with the great inspector tools. If I hit my F12 key, I've got it on an iPad Air here. Let's just make it a little bit bigger so you can see it better. Then we'll scroll down. There's our first image. It's going to turn into a blurb. Here's our second blurb. It's going to turn into an image. And again, it's going to do the same thing on the way back down. And that's a great little feature. It'll do the same thing on an iPhone. Here's our first image. When we scroll up, turn into a blurb. And the other one going to turn back into the image. I've just got opposites happening there. You can do it any way around you like, but that's going to get people's attention fairly quickly. So let's get rid of that and I'll show you exactly how to do it. No coding involved in this at all today. So let's go back up to where they are. I'm going to enable my Visual Builder. And let's go down to where we want to work. And I'll just get rid of this row and we'll start from scratch. Okay, I've got a regular section here with a little blue gradient in the background. I'm going to hit the little green plus there. I'm going to put two columns in mine. Obviously, you can put as many or as few in as you like. Now, this will work with any module. I just happen to use a blurb module. You can use a call to action, circle, counter, code, anything you want. Well, actually, probably not a code, but it will work with pretty much any module you want to use for it. So let's go ahead and use a blurb again. I'm going to hit my little blurb right there. I'm going to leave it on the generic title there, generic content. I'm going to have an icon rather than an image. And let's just throw in a random one. That'll do fine. As you can see, it's right there. I'm going to roll down a little bit more. If you want to, you can link this to something. So when they click on it, it'll take them somewhere. You can have the title linked to one place. You can have the whole module linked to somewhere else. Always best practice. If you're linking to your own site, keep it in the same window. If you're linking off-site, open it in a new tab. That way, your site will stay open. I'm going to throw in a little white background on mine. Background just below. Always find background on the content. That's a bit better. We can see everything there. Great. Well, I'm going to leave it just like that. I'm going to go over to my design tab. Let's make my icon perhaps blue. Go with my background color a bit more. Want it to be a little bit smaller perhaps. I think I used 60 pixels before. Of course, this is all entirely up to you. And I'm going to close that up. My text, I think I'll throw that in the middle. I'm just going to leave it on the generic. Any of these you can edit separately by hitting the pencil that's attached to it. It'll take you straight to the design tab for that. And you can change the font and the color and everything you need right there. That's going to work for me though. I'm just going to roll down to spacing now. I'm going to give mine 30 pixels all around. Just put in the 30, it'll put in the pixels. Hit the chain, it'll do the opposite side. And we'll do the same for the left and right here. Fantastic. Okay, if you hadn't watched yesterday's video or any of my other hover videos I got on my Divi hover effects playlist, you know what we're going to do next. To have this swap to an image, we're going to put an image in the column that it's sitting in. So let's go into the row. Here's our left-hand column, the first one. I'm going to click on the little cog. Again, background's always under content. Let's go and choose an image. Third tab along is background image. And I guess we'll use the same images we used before. Pop the image in there. Now, of course, you can't see it because we've got our blurb module sitting on top of it. But what we can do is have it fade in and out. using Divi's inbuilt scroll effects. So we'll save our column, we'll save the row. Actually, while we're in the row, let's throw an image in the next door column, just like we did yesterday. And I'll show you how to duplicate this and do the opposite effect if you want to. So again, I'm going to add a background image. Let's throw that little car in there. Great. And we'll save that, save the main row settings. The reason you don't see anything there is this column's got no content in it yet. Okay, well, let's make this happen. What we want is we want to come up the site here. We want the image to be visible all the way to about here or wherever you choose for yours. And then we want to switch it to the blurb when it gets up here so they can read everything. Click on it if you've made it a link. Really easy to do. Let's go back into our blurb module. Like I say, no coding involved in this. I'm going to go over to the Advanced tab, down to Scroll Effects. Third one along, you've got Fade In and Out. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to switch it from no to yes. And we've got a sort of viewport timeline-ish thing. Viewport bottom is the bottom of the screen, obviously. Viewport top, I bet you can guess, is the top of the screen. Okay, so if we roll down now, you'll notice that we've got the image in there already. Let's just scroll that back up so you can see the timeline. Because we've got the starting opacity at 0, that means it's totally transparent so you can see that image through it. But I want to be able to see that image clearly until it gets to about here. So I'm going to drag this 0 up to, I don't know, about 60% of the screen, something like that. Let's drag it up. I'll move this one up just a little bit. There it is on 60. I'm going to move that one back on top of it. So it'll be fairly instant. If you give it a gap, it'll take a second or two to fade in. I want mine to be fairly instant. Let's roll it back down and see what we've got there. So we've got a clear image. Then when we get to about there, the image is going to turn into that blur module, and it'll stay like that for the rest of the screen. And it doesn't matter what size screen they're looking at it on, because we're using a percentage, it'll do the same thing. Now, one thing I should have mentioned before is on some devices, you can have different aspect ratios. So if you want to keep your image focused on what it is, you can have different images for different devices. And just to explain that a little further, I'll show you exactly what I mean. If we go back into our row now, we'll go back into the column in the background there, over to our image again. If you want to put a different image in, or a different cropped image in on tablet and mobile, you can do that by hovering over the dark writing within a module. Once you do that, you'll see some little icons appear. There's a little mobile phone icon there, and you can have a completely different image on tablet. I roll down so you can see the image. See, you could crop your image differently or even have a different image if you wanted to by just getting rid of that one and loading another one in. I haven't got any different images cropped for mine. Well, let's just show you. Let's chuck a little different image in just so you can see. So I'll trash this one on mobile. We'll add a different one. Let's throw that little dark one. And again, you can do the same thing on mobile. So if I go back to desktop now, roll back down so you can see we've got our original image. Just thought that was worth explaining if you have a particular image that you want to crop and highlight a certain area, or if you want to change things around like I've done here. Okay, well, let's save that. We're pretty much good to go. Now remember, we put an image in this other column here. So if we want to duplicate this effect, it couldn't be easier. We'll just use the duplicate now. Drag one of them up over here. I just hit the little cross, left mouse, dragged and dropped it. Great. We've got two doing exactly the same thing there. And that can be really effective if you've got several blur modules. It's certainly going to get their eyeballs on it. But what if we want to do the opposite effect on this one? Have it start off as the blurred. Then when it gets up to here, we'll have the image come in. Again, that couldn't be easier. We'll go into it. We'll go to our scroll effects. I'm sure you're ahead of me on this. Advanced, down to the scroll effects. Go into our fade in and out. What we can do, we can swap our 0% opacity there to 100. And swap our 100s for a 0. that way. If we just save that, we've got that image on the top there. When it scrolls down to the bottom, it's going to flip out into a little blurb module. And again, that's a really eye-catching little feature. Now, what I was saying before, if you wanted a slower fade, if you wanted it to actually fade in a bit slower, a bit like we did with our hover effects here, I think we were taking about a second for that. We can just move that scroll effect slightly. Back in the advanced, down to scroll effects. Back to our fade. If we move the bottom bar there, just move one of these out of the way. Move that bottom bar perhaps to 50% or 55% even. Move that one back down to 60. It'll have a slightly shorter fade time. If I just save this right now, you'll see the difference between those two. The one on the right is fading in slightly slower, and the more of a gap you give it, the slower it's going to fade in. But because I want them to see the image nicely, I'm having a real short fade until it gets up here, and it's pretty much instantly coming in like that. And that's all there is to it, and that's a really nice effect. Let's just test it, make sure it's going to work on the front end. I'm going to hit my little button here. Let's hit Save Draft or Publish if you're ready. We'll exit the Visual Builder. Scroll on down. There we are. We've got the blurb on the right and the image on the left. When I scroll up, they're going to change. Perfect. And they're going to stay there all the way up. And again, if I hit my F12 key, should work perfectly on tablet and mobile too. Here we are on an iPhone 12. If I scroll down, there's the image. When we scroll up a little bit, it's going to turn into the blurb. Bottom one, there's the blurb. When we scroll up, it's going to turn into the image. And of course, exactly the same for the iPad. And here we are on iPad. As you can see, we've got an image and then we've got a blurb. Let's scroll up. Image is going to turn to a blurb, and the blurb's going to turn it into an image. And if you want to adjust when this happens on each device, you can do that too, just like we did with the image. Just click on the little mobile icon and set different settings for each. So there we go, guys. There's a little text to image or image to text scroll effect using the fantastic inbuilt features of the Divi theme. Really easy to do, and like I say, that's a really eye-catching feature to have on your site. So I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget, if you have any questions, pop them down below the video. I'll do my best to answer them for you, or make a little demo video just like this one. So once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignertaketips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.